Ryan Ryder here alongside Steve Rockamaniac, and today we'll be interviewing a man whose voice you'll pretty much recognize right away, WWE superstar Ken Kennedy, or should I say Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy. How's it going, Mr. Kennedy?
I was just going to correct you, but you did well and you corrected yourself, so I applaud you.
Thank you, thank you. First off, let's go back to your early days. Growing up, were you always a wrestling fan?
No, I wasn't actually. When I was a little kid, I watched Saturday Night's Main Event with my dad, and WWE Superstars, but I kind of fell away from it as I got a little older, and then it wasn't until about 96 or 97 when I was at a buddy's house, and he forced me into watching wrestling, and he told me that we were going to watch wrestling one night, and I was like, we're not going to watch it, garbage. I'm not going to watch guys rolling around, and they're all oiled up, and he just said, yeah, but you can't look at it that way, man. It's like a male soap opera, and he just kind of just said, trust me, there's one guy by the name of Stone Cold Steve Austin, you're going to love him, and just at least watch it for that. And so I did, and I immediately saw Steve coming out to the ring, driving a pickup truck, swilling a six-pack of beer, flipping people off, and I just thought right away, there's a guy that I can relate to, and I started watching every week religiously just to see him, and pretty soon I got roped into everything else, and then I realized like what I had been missing all these years, and I started doing my homework and really went back and looked at the archives and got as many tapes and stuff like that as I possibly could, and went back and revisited wrestling history.
So what made you want to get into the business?
Well, it was just kind of something that I had always, since I was a little kid, been interested in the entertainment industry. I was always making people laugh, goofing around and joking around, and doing impersonations of people, and reciting lines from movies from the time I can remember.
And how was your training like?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How was your training like, your in-ring training?
My in-ring training was about 9 months of taking bumps, landing in a ring that was it was a 16 by 16 foot ring, and it was in a small little dingy, poorly lit room in an old Prangway Mall in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the ring was like concrete, and we would just get in there and bump after bump after bump all day long. And I'd only do it 1 or 2 days a week, but at that time, being new to the business, the first bump you take, I remember the second day after I had my first day of practice, I went to work, and it felt like I had been in a car accident, because here I thought that I was going to be landing on a trampoline, and instead I was landing on these railroad ties covered up by a piece of plywood, so pretty rough.
Wow. Do you have any good stories from your early days in the business?
One of the things about the wrestling business is you run into some real goofs. You run into some people who try to sell you on pipe dreams, and people who actually believe their own hype. And these are guys that, God bless them, they're working to try to accomplish something, but it's almost like they immediately put themselves. I remember one of the things that one of the guys told me was that you're not considered a wrestling fan anymore. You're above the fans. The fans are weak. The fans are nothing. You don't listen to them. You don't talk to them. You don't associate yourself with them. And it's just funny because I always felt that was weird, because I always looked at it as I'm still a wrestling fan just because I'm in the business. I'm the biggest wrestling fan because I wanted to be in the business. I loved it so much. And I was at a show, and this guy, it was my ninth match, I believe, and the promoter had scheduled us to win the match and take the titles from these guys, the tag titles, and they refused to put us over because I was too green in their eyes. I hadn't had enough matches, and we had some pretty funny backstage exchanges, and it involved a guy wearing a mask and nothing else, and another guy with a bottle of Jack Daniels and a Ku Klux Klan shirt, waving around a 9mm handgun in the basement of this place called the Watering Hole that we were wrestling.
Hey.
So it was a pretty interesting time.
Pretty crazy times.
How long was it from when you, I guess, debuted after your training until you got your WWE developmental contract, and how did that come about? Well, it took about 6.5 years for me to actually get a contract, and you know, it was like all these different things falling into place at once, and I had prepared myself and made all these contacts, and it was like I just kept trying out for the WWE. I kept sending tapes, and I made it a religion to send them a tape every 6 months, and I would just, you know, I wouldn't hear from them, or when I back from them, it was like, we've got nothing for you, and they would, you know, once in a while they'd give me some pointers, but for the most part, it was just not, I would hear nothing at all. So I just kept working and sending tapes, and every time that they were in the area, I'd call them and ask if I could go in for a tryout match, and I normally get that, and I would just get around the ring the minute that I got there, and I'd just try to be a sponge and sponge off the guys like Arn Anderson and Vic Finley and Dean Malenko and whoever else I could that was at the ring working out at the time. And slowly but surely I just kind of put all the pieces together, and you know, eventually after about 6.5 years, all those pieces fell in place, and all those contacts that I had been making started to come through for me. You know, like Arn Anderson saw me and liked what I was doing.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman liked me and saw what he liked what I was doing, and I mean, Dreamer and a couple other people, and all those people kind of came together behind the scenes and said, hey, let's pull the trigger on this guy and see what he's got.
Well, as we have seen, you did end up getting that WWE contract, and you have been quite successful thus far. And well, part of your fame can be attested to the fact that you say your name twice. What gave you the idea to do that, and are you surprised by the amount of success you've achieved so far in the WWE?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised, because like it was one of those things that I always knew that I was going to do it. You know, I had tons of people, you know, when I was working on those independents for those 6.5 years, who would come up to me and say, man, when are you going to get a real job, you know, like, when are you going to stop this? Because here I was driving sometimes 15 hours one way to wrestle in a city in front of 50 people and get paid $40 or nothing at all, and drive back 15 hours, and you know, they thought I was crazy for doing it. And I always knew that I was going to be successful. There was just something in me that I knew that I would rather go to my grave having tried as hard as I possibly could and failed, rather than, you know, being one of those guys that, well, you know, that it's those frustrated jocks that you get, the guys that say, man, I should have played college ball because I probably could have gone pro because I was so good in high school, you know, those kind of guys, and I don't want to be that guy. And as far as the ring introduction thing goes, I actually used to announce basketball games when I was in high school, and that's Paul Heyman, let's say, and he said, hey, tonight, let's do something different. I want you to go out there and announce yourself. And I actually just kind of pulled that one from my memory banks. For some reason, when I was in high school, I used to say the last name twice for some of the guys. Just that spiced it up a little bit, and everybody thought it was kind of a hoot, kind of a joke. And so I went out there at OVW, and I did it, and I came back to the curtain, and I remember everybody was like, man, when you said your last name twice, that was just awesome. I remember thinking, like, are you kidding me? It's like, that's all it took? I mean, it was just weird how that's just goes to show that the weirdest things can get over, and you never know, and you just always got to keep trying stuff. And,
yeah.
You know, you just never know.